Your heartbeat becomes a password. Your calm becomes consent.
They said he traded on instinct, but the timing was impossible.
This band isn't guessing, it's triggering.
Scholarships, charities, all feeding Meridian.
Your heartbeat becomes a password. Your calm becomes consent.
Trench coat collar up to my eyes, neon on water, crooked and white. You said me sooner, you never said where. Taxi doors coughing into the damp air. Fog over electric London swallows your name from my tongue. I follow your ghost through the crosswalk. Every red light comes out wrong.
London is loud until it isn't. There's a moment in the early hours when the city stops performing itself, the buses thin out. The black cabs become less theatrical. Even the river seems to pause, as if water can take a breath. It's not peace, it's an intermission. At 3:17, the minute the Meridian Institute had chosen for my orientation, I was awake in the Wapping office, sitting in a chair I'd never use in daylight. I hadn't set an alarm. I'd simply refused to sleep the way London wants you to, in obedient blocks that can be measured, charted, monetized. I listened to the building. Pipes, a distant elevator, footsteps on the stairwell that might have belonged to the marine surveyor below, or might have belonged to someone who had learned our schedule. In London, you're never certain what's mundane and what's intentional. That uncertainty is one of the city's quiet exports. Lin Mei had gone home a few hours earlier, leaving her screens dark. Tess had insisted on taking first watch from her flat 2 streets over, where she could see our door and still pretend she wasn't living in a surveillance novel. Noah had texted once, "I'm here if needed," then fallen silent. Safi was staying at a friend's place in Hackney, close enough to arrive fast but far enough that her presence didn't become predictable. Kieran had vanished into his own network, which meant he was either working or regretting the kind of work he'd once done. Jun slept on the love seat, a blanket drawn up to her chin, mouth slightly open, her body still learning it was allowed to rest. I sat with the Meridian pin on my desk, circle and line, polished, expensive enough to imply it had been designed by someone who understood how objects can confer legitimacy. I hadn't touched it since the envelope arrived under our door. I'd left it exactly where they'd wanted it, visible. A small part of me wanted the Institute to try something dramatic at 3:17. A knock, a call, a drone, a blackout. Drama makes a case easier. Drama announces itself. Nothing happened. At 3:17:30, my phone buzzed. Not a call, an automated notification from an unknown number. Listening orientation missed, misalignment logged. Calibration may be delayed. It was written like a clinic reminder. The content was doctrine. Your life is an algorithm. Refusal becomes pathology. I stared at the screen and felt a familiar tension, not fear, not anger, but the old intelligence itch, the urge to respond, to push back, to prove you're not being played. Systems depend on that urge. It makes you predictable. I set the phone face down. Outside, somewhere across the city, a radio signal marked the hour with the BBC pips, those precise tones that have been training Britain to trust standardized time for generations. The pips were simple, almost childish. Yet they were a perfect symbol of what Meridian was selling. A clean sound that implies order and an order that implies safety. I looked at Jun sleeping and thought about my Zen teacher's refusal of measurement as holiness. In Kamakura, Hoshino Ryosen had let silence exist without turning it into proof. He would have laughed at a clinic that tried to sell alignment to people who were already exhausted by schedules. He also would have warned me about pride dressed as resistance. The problem wasn't that Meridian had chosen 317. The problem was that the city already belongs to people who choose times like that and expect others to comply. At 3:18, my phone buzzed again, this time a call. Tess. I answered quietly so I wouldn't wake Jun. What? I said. Case, Tess replied. She didn't waste words in the early hours. Finance trainee, Canary Wharf. Accused of insider trading. A pause. Then she added the part that made it our problem. And it's tied to the band. I sat up a little straighter, not from adrenaline, from recognition. Explain, I said. I pulled the brokerage logs, Tess replied. The trades align with something called a calm score. He's wearing Meridian hardware. It's in his HR file as a stress accommodation. Tess sounded like she was holding herself back from saying what she wanted to say. London is paying for obedience and calling it health. Who brought it to you? I asked. A lawyer, Tess said. Not the kid. The bank wants it quiet. They want to drop him without a scandal, but their internal compliance team is nervous because the pattern looks engineered. Name? I asked. Imran Kavich, Tess said. 24, graduate trainee at Marwick and Lawn. Marwick and Lawn, a fictional bank with a real-world posture, sleek glass, moral language, predatory speed. Meet time? I asked. Tess made a small sound. 9, she said. They're still human. They want to pretend this is normal business. Send me the address, I said. And Calder, Tess added. Yes. I found something else, she said. What? I asked. She paused, then said it as if she didn't like giving drama oxygen. Layla's name popped in the same vendor logs, Tess said. Not her personal data, just an identifier, but it's the same system. The phone felt heavier in my hand. Send everything, I said. I already am, Tess replied. Then, softer than usual, don't do anything heroic. I almost smiled. Tess's version of tenderness is warning. I won't, I said. When I ended the call, I watched the city through the window. Streetlights made pale halos on wet pavement. A fox crossed the road in the distance with the casual confidence of something that belongs everywhere. Hoshino used to talk about foxes, how the teacher can become the trickster, and the trickster can become the teacher depending on who's watching. In London, foxes don't need to pretend. They're part of the landscape. At 3:21, Jun stirred, opened her eyes, and looked at me as if she'd been awake the whole time. Time, she asked. Yeah, I said. She sat up slightly. They call? She asked. Text, I said. Jun's eyes moved to the phone face down on the desk. She didn't ask what it said. She asked something else, voice soft but direct. You go? She asked. No, I said. Jun nodded slowly, then said with the careful certainty of someone protecting language as if it were a living thing. Good. I watched her settle back under the blanket. When she fell asleep again, I sat alone with the sound of distant pips and the knowledge that Meridian had found a new entry point into London. Finance, not belief. Credentials. 2. Canary Wharf. Canary Wharf is a monument to an idea that if you build enough glass, you can convince yourself you're clean. The morning sky was low and pale, the kind of light that doesn't commit to being daylight. The river near the docklands looked metallic. Pedestrians moved with purpose, dressed in the uniform of respectable urgency. Dark coats, nice shoes, expressions calibrated to suggest they had nothing to hide. Kieran met me outside the Jubilee Line station without greeting. He wore a wool coat that fit him too well for a man who claimed not to care about appearances. You look like you didn't sleep, he said. I did, I replied. Just not in the way Meridian wanted. Kieran's mouth moved slightly, not quite a smile. Good, he said. If you start obeying their clock, you'll never get it back. How did you hear about the case? I asked. Tess texted me, he said. Also, Canary Wharf has ears. When a trainee gets flagged, people gossip in private. We walked toward Marwick and Lorne's building. The lobby was clean in a way that always makes me suspicious. There were security gates that pretended to be about safety rather than hierarchy. A receptionist smiled without warmth. We were met by a solicitor in a navy suit that looked tailored by someone who'd been trained to sell credibility. Her name was Helena Grant, and her handshake was firm enough to imply she would not be moved by emotion. "Mr. Rowan," she said. "Mr. Voss." Kieran didn't correct her. He rarely corrected anyone who got his name wrong in a useful direction. Helena led us through security and into a conference room with a view of the docks. The window framed the water like a painting of money. On the table lay a thin file folder, an iPad, and a single black band in a plastic evidence bag. The band looked like a sleek fitness wearable. It also looked like a shackle that had been redesigned by someone with good taste. Helena gestured to the chair opposite her. "I represent Mr. Cavich," she said. "And, unofficially, I'm trying to prevent Marwick and Lorne from ruining a young man's life because someone's algorithm wants a scapegoat." That sentence was the first human thing she'd said. "Why me?" I asked. Helena's eyes held mine. "Because you have experience with high-control systems," she said. "And because the Meridian Institute has become fashionable among certain people who like control but dislike being seen as controlling." She slid the file toward me. Imran Kavich's photograph stared back. Young, clean-shaven, eyes trying too hard to look certain, the kind of face you see on recruitment brochures. "Insider trading allegation," Helena said. "He's been flagged by internal compliance and an external monitoring vendor. The pattern suggests he placed trades shortly before sensitive announcements." "Did he?" I asked. Helena's mouth tightened. "He insists he didn't," she said. "He admits he set up an automated stability portfolio through a wellness program. He thought it was savings. Now it looks like a weapon." Kieran leaned forward. "Stability portfolio," he repeated. Helena nodded once. "That's the language," she said. I opened the file, trade logs, timestamps, instruments. The numbers were neat. The pattern was not. Tess had been right. The trades didn't look like human greed. They looked like a system testing its own reach. "Where is Imran?" I asked. Helena glanced toward the door. "Waiting outside," she said. "He's frightened, but he's been trained to hide it." "Trained by who?" I asked. Helena's gaze flicked to the band in the evidence bag. "The Meridian Institute," she said. She opened the door and said quietly, "Imran." Imran entered with the careful posture of someone who believes every movement might be evaluated. He wore a plain shirt, no tie. His hands hovered near his pockets and then decided against it. He looked at Helena first, then at me, then at Kieran. His eyes lingered on my face a fraction longer than the others, as if he'd seen me somewhere. "Mr. Cavich," I said. "Imran," he replied. His voice was steady, but I noticed the way he measured the distance to the door, and then pretended he hadn't. I gestured toward the chair. He sat. I didn't start with accusations. People in high-control systems expect accusations. It makes it easier to adopt the posture of victim or martyr. I started with a question that invited him back into his own agency. "Tell me why you went to Meridian," I said. Imran's gaze dropped to the band in the bag. "I needed to function," he said. "Function," I repeated. He searched for a word, then chose Meridian's vocabulary. "Misaligned." Helena watched him with an expression that contained frustration and pity. She had probably heard him speak this way for days. "Misaligned with what?" I asked. Imran's jaw moved. "With time," he said, as if it were obvious. "With expectation, with the pace." Kieran's voice was calm. "You mean stress," he said. Imran blinked once, as if the word had been forbidden. "Yes," he said finally. "Stress." He looked up at me again. "They said stress is a temporal disorder," he added. They said my body was keeping a private clock that didn't match the world. And the band? I asked. Imran nodded. Calibration, he said. Degree 3. He said degree without irony. That word landed in the room like a nail. Helena glanced at me, eyes sharp. He's deeper than we thought. What does calibration do? I asked. It measures my calm, Imran said. It helps me improve. Improve what? I asked. Imran hesitated. Readiness, he said. I looked at Helena. She looked away, jaw set. Imran, I said, did you place those trades? He swallowed once, then answered carefully. No, he said. I don't even know what some of those instruments are. Then how did the trades happen? I asked. Imran's hands moved slightly, then folded together again as if he'd been taught not to gesture too much. I consented to a portfolio, he said. They said it would teach me stability, that the market is a clock, that trading is feedback. A pause. They said I would receive scholarships, he added quickly, as if saying it made him feel chosen, if I improved. Tess would have loved that. Scholarships. Always a moral name for a financial hook. Helena leaned forward. Tell him what you told me, she said. Imran looked at her, then at me. His voice lowered. It doesn't place trades when I'm anxious, he said. It places trades when I'm calm. That sentence sat in the air. It was almost absurd. It was also exactly the kind of absurdity that becomes terrifying when it's true. Why? I asked. Imran's eyes flicked down. They said calm is consent, he said. Kieran's gaze sharpened. Say that again, he said. Imran repeated it, quieter. Calm is consent. Helena looked as if she might curse, but she kept her tone professional. The bank's compliance team thinks he engineered a trading strategy around announcements, she said. But the timestamps don't correlate with news sources. They correlate with his calm score. She gestured toward the iPad. We obtained his band logs through a wellness program agreement. Legally murky, but enough to see the pattern. Imran watched the iPad as if it might convict him. I asked him one more question, a simple one. Who gave you the band? I said. Imran hesitated. Dr. Price, he said. Stellan Price again. Where did you meet him? I asked. Greenwich, Imran replied. Intake, listening, then ledger. His eyes moved toward me again, a flicker of recognition sharpening. I saw you there, he said suddenly. I held still. You did, I said. You were an observer, he said. They talked about you. Helena's eyes snapped to mine. Talked how? I asked. Imran hesitated. His voice dropped. They said you resist, he said, and that resistance is useful. Noah had predicted this. Meridian didn't fear skeptics. It collected them. Imran's face tightened, the first visible sign of discomfort. I'm not ready to question yet, he said automatically. There it was, the phrase Noah had heard in other systems. I didn't challenge it directly. I asked something that cut around it. Imran, I said, if you could leave Meridian without losing access to what you believe you've gained, would you? Imran's mouth opened, closed. His eyes looked briefly lost. Helena watched him, her own certainty briefly shaken. Imran finally said, almost inaudible, I don't know. That was the most honest thing he'd said in the room. Helena cleared her throat. Mr. Rowan, she said, I need a plan. The bank is preparing to terminate him and hand their findings to the FCA. He will become a cautionary tale. I looked at the band in the evidence bag. Give me the logs, I said, and give me the band. Helena hesitated. It's evidence, she said. So is his life, I replied. She held my gaze, then slid the bag across the table. Imran watched it leave his reach, as if losing it meant losing the only proof he mattered. Imran, I said, don't wear another one. He stared at me. Don't, I repeated. He nodded slowly, but the nod didn't feel like agreement. It felt like a person trying to obey two conflicting authorities. We left the building with the band in my coat pocket, the river glinting below like a blade disguised as scenery. Kieran walked beside me. "Finance is their next layer," he said. "Yes," I replied. "And the kid is a credential," Kieran added. "Not a person, a credential they can spend." I thought about the phrase Imran had repeated, "Calm is consent," and felt a cold clarity settle. Meridian wasn't measuring calm to heal people, it was measuring calm to authorize them. 3. Tess and the pattern. Back in Wapping, Tess had already turned our conference table into a crime scene made of paper. UK charity registry printouts, company's house filings, bank statements, a hand-drawn map with arrows and notes in her sharp handwriting. Tess doesn't research, she interrogates. She looked up as I walked in and saw the band in the bag. "Good," she said. "I hate waiting." I placed the evidence bag on the table. Tess nodded toward the trade logs on her laptop. "Watch this," she said. She had built a simple overlay, trade timestamps on one axis, calm scores on the other. The plot looked like a malicious joke. Every suspicious trade occurred within a narrow window after Imran's calm score spiked. Not when his heart rate rose. Not when he was panicking. Not when he was frantic. When he was calm. "Like a signature," I said. Tess nodded. "Exactly," she said. "It's like the band is waiting for his physiology to match a template. When he hits the template, the system triggers." Lin Mei walked in behind me, eyes already on the band. She didn't ask how we got it. She assumed we'd done whatever was necessary. Safi followed, coat still on, hair slightly damp from the underground. Noah arrived last, quiet, as if he'd been standing outside the door listening before entering. Jun sat on the love seat, blanket around her shoulders, watching us. Tess tapped a line item on her printouts. "And here's the scholarship," she said. "Meridian doesn't charge him directly for calibration. They sponsor him through a charity." She slid a paper toward me. "The Longitude and Well-Being Trust, registered as an educational charity promoting resilience through temporal literacy." "Longitude," Lin Mei murmured. "They can't resist making everything a metaphor." Tess's eyes were bright with irritation. "They pay his course fees as a grant," she said. "He thinks he's chosen. He's just useful. The trust receives donations from a donor-advised fund routed through a couple of shells. The shells have names that make me want to vomit." She read them aloud anyway. "Canticle Exchange Limited," she said. "Abbygate Processing. Chancery Metrics." Safi's eyes narrowed. "Ecclesiastical naming," she said. "Exactly," Tess replied. "Religious aesthetics without religious responsibility." Lin Mei leaned toward the printouts. "Canticle Exchange," she said. "That sounds like a data broker." "It is," Tess replied. "And," she tapped another page, "Canticle shares directors with a company called St. Hill Instruments UK." Jun's head lifted. "St. Hill," she said. Safi's gaze sharpened. Kieran, leaning against the doorframe, nodded once as if he'd been expecting the name. I felt something in my chest shift, not panic, but recognition of a pattern that had existed long before Meridian. St. Hill is a manor in Sussex, near East Grinstead. It's also one of the most famous sites in Scientology's history. L. Ron Hubbard's headquarters in Britain in the early 1960s. The place where auditing and levels were refined into a ladder of secrets that became more expensive and more bizarre as you climbed. The place that contributed to a government reaction strong enough to push Hubbard out of the country, leaving him to run his movement from ships. Kieran spoke quietly. "St. Hill is not a random name," he said. "No," I replied. Safi looked at Tess. "The director names?" she asked. Tess slid another sheet forward. "One is a front," she said. "A nominee director. Another is real. Gideon Rainsford." Kieran's face changed slightly. "Rainsford," he said. "Private security, consultancy, quiet work for loud people." Noah spoke from the corner. So the charity funds the band, he said, and the band triggers trades. Tess nodded. And the trades route money into something, she said, a portfolio called stability. Lin Mei's voice was clinical. Stability is always the word they use when they mean control, she said. Jun whispered, noise. Safi reached for the evidence bag. Can I see it? She asked. I nodded. She opened the bag carefully and examined the band as if it were a piece of language. This is not just a wearable, she said softly. It's an interface. Kieran asked, interface to what? Safi looked up. To obedience, she said. Noah's gaze moved to me. And to your case, he said. Layla. Lin Mei's fingers were already moving on her laptop. I can pull the firmware, she said. If it's not locked down, if it is locked down, I can still watch the traffic. Tess's voice sharpened. Do it, she said, and fast. I watched the band on the table. In Greenwich, Price had talked about chronometers as solutions to anxiety. Out here in Canary Wharf, the chronometer band looked like something else entirely. A modern e-meter, polished for finance. A device designed to make your nervous system into evidence. 4. Lin Mei and the telemetry. Lin Mei treats devices the way surgeons treat bodies. Not with contempt, not with awe, but with precision. She set the band on a pad, connected a small interface, and began pulling data. The band's casing was seamless, designed to imply it could not be opened. That kind of design is always a lie. Kieran sat on the windowsill, watching the street below. Tess hovered behind Lin Mei like a supervisor who knew hovering wouldn't help but couldn't stop herself. Noah sat in the corner, hands folded, waiting for the psychological piece to emerge. Safi moved between the screens and her notebook, tracking words and patterns. Jun watched everything and spoke rarely, saving her language like a currency. Lin Mei's screen filled with code. It's broadcasting through a phone app, she said, but it's also doing something else. Tess leaned in. What? She asked. Lin Mei pointed. Secondary channel, she said. It's using a low-energy beacon to pair with external receivers, like retail tracking. Except not retail. Kieran's voice was flat. Like people tracking, he said. Lin Mei nodded. Yes, she said. It wants to be seen by fixed points, like a citywide sensor grid. Safi's pen paused. That's not healthcare, she said. No, Lin Mei agreed. It's infrastructure. She typed quickly and a log window appeared. Outbound packets, destinations. There, she said. A list of endpoints flashed. Canticle-exchange.net, abigate-proc.uk, chancery-metrics.io. Tess made a sound of disgust. Church words, she muttered. Lin Mei continued. And there's an internal tag, she said, not visible on the app but in the data payload. She highlighted it. Project Palimpsest. Noah's gaze sharpened. Palimpsest, he repeated. Rewriting. A palimpsest is a manuscript page scraped clean and written over, traces of the older text still visible. It's a perfect metaphor for coercion. Rewrite the story while pretending the old one never existed. Lin Mei kept going. There's another tag, she said. She hesitated, then highlighted a string that made the room go still. Site STHILL-UK. Jun's eyes widened. St. Hill, she said. Kieran's face stayed calm, but his posture shifted. It's not metaphor, he said. It's lineage. Safi leaned in. Still, she murmured. They're referencing St. Hill. Tess looked at me. Scientology, she said, not asking. I didn't answer immediately because the name has its own gravity. People hear it and either laugh or flinch. Both reactions are defenses. Yes, I said finally, or someone borrowing its architecture. Noah spoke quietly. Meridian is building levels, he said. 12 degrees, paywalled, secret, that's not new. Lin Mei's voice remained calm. There's more, she said. She clicked into a file directory and opened a text block that looked like a script. It wasn't code, it was language. Short phrases, repeating patterns, designed to be delivered to the wearer at specific moments. Safi leaned over Lin Mei's shoulder and read quickly. Her face changed, not into shock, but into professional recognition. "These are micro-scripts," she said. "Prompt language." Tess frowned. "Like meditation prompts?" she asked. "Not meditation," Safi replied. "Compliance prompts." She pointed to a sequence. "Notice the impulse to defend. Label it noise. Return to the line. Thank you. Proceed." Safi's voice lowered. "This is auditing syntax," she said. Noah looked up sharply. "Auditing," he repeated. Safi nodded. "I've worked on cases involving old Scientology training materials," she said. "The phrasing, notice, label, thank you, the rhythm. It's designed to keep the subject in a contained conversational loop." Tess scoffed. "So they turned an e-meter into a Fitbit," she said. Lin Mei added, "It measures skin conductance," she said. "Electrodermal activity, that's exactly what an e-meter does." Kieran's voice was quiet. "Hubbard liked machines," he said. The name hovered unspoken until Tess said it bluntly. "L. Ron Hubbard," she said. "St. Hill, Sussex, 60s, levels, devices, confession files. It's the same skeleton." John whispered, "Old story." Noah watched me. "Is this why you came to London?" he asked. The question wasn't accusation. It was recognition that patterns have histories. "I came because the money crossed the Atlantic," I said. "But yes, London is where this kind of architecture learned to hide in respectability." Safi looked at the script again. "They're not copying Scientology," she said. "They're adapting it." "For whom?" Tess asked. Safi didn't hesitate. "For people who would never join Scientology," she said. "People who think they're too intelligent, too modern, too evidence-based." Lin Mei pointed at the band logs again. "Calm score," she said. "They compute it. They reward it. And when it hits threshold, something else triggers." Tess's gaze sharpened. "Trades," she said. Lin Mei nodded. "Trades," she repeated. Noah leaned forward. "They're using bodies as signatures," he said. "A human factor, a physiological authentication." "Exactly," Lin Mei said. "And because calm is stable, it's repeatable. It becomes credential." Tess's mouth tightened. "Calibration turns bodies into credentials," she said, almost reciting the episode's subtitle without meaning to. Kieran looked toward the window. "If they're using St. Hill as a site tag," he said, "we should go there." Tess looked at him. "Why?" she asked. "Because St. Hill is where this method learned to call itself spiritual," Kieran replied. "And because London people love lineage. Give them lineage and they'll tolerate anything." Safi nodded. "Also," she said, "I want to know what tapes they're using. If they're training prompts off Hubbard's language patterns, there will be recordings." Noah added, "And people," he said. "Ex-members, survivors. They'll recognize the architecture." Jun spoke quietly. "We need—" "Why?" she said. Noah's gaze softened. "Yes," he said. I looked at the band again. Meridian had found a way to make calm measurable, then use that measurement as a key. That alone was dangerous. But the St. Hill tag suggested something deeper, a historical continuity, a lineage of technique, a tradition of turning confessions into leverage. I thought of Price's chronometer in its glass case, a machine that solved navigation, a machine turned into an altar. And I thought of Hubbard's e-meter, a machine that claimed to measure the soul. Different metaphors, same appetite. "All right," I said, "we go to Sussex." 5. St. Hill. Driving out of London feels like leaving one form of surveillance for another. The city's cameras fade, replaced by hedgerows and quiet villages with names that sound like they were invented by a poet who hated modernity. Fields appear. Trees. The sky opens slightly. The road becomes less dramatic and more honest. It asks only that you pay attention. Kieran drove. Tess insisted on sitting in the passenger seat so she could watch the road like it might betray us. Lin Mei sat in back with her laptop open, tethered to a hotspot, tracking band telemetry as if she could follow it all the way to its source. Safi sat beside Lin Mei, notebook in her lap, listening to the band's prompts through headphones, writing down sequences like a translator watching a language be manufactured. Noah sat behind me still, observing all of us with the quiet precision he used on cult rooms. Jun came because she wanted to, and because the past doesn't stay in California simply because you crossed an ocean. East Grinstead is a small town that looks like it has learned to survive by appearing quaint. If you didn't know what you were looking for, you could convince yourself nothing important had ever happened there. That's how a lot of power works in Britain. It hides inside the modest. St. Hill Manor sits outside town, a large estate with lawns that look expensive to maintain. It's known publicly as a site associated with Scientology, its UK headquarters, its training center, its mythic origin point for people who climb its ladder. We didn't go to the manor gates. We didn't need a confrontation with security. We needed context and living memory. Kieran took us to a pub on the edge of town that smelled like beer and old wood and conversations that refused to become history. He chose a corner table with a view of the door. "There's someone," he said quietly. "He'll meet us here." "Who?" Tess asked. "An ex-member," Kieran replied. "He left years ago. He doesn't advertise it. He doesn't like journalists, but he likes the idea of being useful against a new version." Safi's eyes narrowed. "Why would he trust you?" she asked. Kieran's mouth moved slightly. "He doesn't," he said, "but he trusts my disdain for institutions." A man arrived 10 minutes later, mid-60s, posture upright but tired. His face had the particular look of someone who has spent years pretending he wasn't harmed, and then, eventually, got bored of pretending. He introduced himself as Peter Mordaunt. He shook my hand, then Tess's, then Lin Mei's. He nodded at Noah, as if recognizing a fellow survivor without needing the details. Jun looked at him steadily. Safi watched him with the careful attention of someone trained to hear what people don't say. Peter sat and ordered tea, not beer. Tea felt like a choice. Kieran said, "We're investigating a London group using a wearable. Their internal systems tag a site as STHILL. Peter's mouth moved in something like a humorless smile. "St. Hill," he said. "They always come back to St. Hill." "Tell us why," I said. Peter looked at me. "You're not a journalist," he said. "No," I replied. "I'm trying to prevent a new ladder from doing old harm with better aesthetics." Peter nodded once. "Fair," he said. He took a sip of tea, then spoke without drama. "In the early 60s, he said, Hubbard ran his empire from here. St. Hill was where the training became systematic, where the grades became a chart, where confession became currency." Safi's pen moved. Peter continued. "People think Scientology is the weird alien story," he said. "That's what outsiders laugh at. But the real engine was always practical. Auditing, security checks, ethics files. They make you tell your secrets. They keep the secrets. Then they sell you the next rung." Tess's eyes stayed on him. "And the device?" she asked. Peter nodded. "The E-meter," he said. "Galvanic skin response. They told us it measured spiritual distress. Really, it measured arousal, which is useful. You can get a person to associate a number with guilt. You can train them to chase a lower number the way gamblers chase a win." Lin Mei murmured, "Calm score." Peter's gaze flicked to her, approving. "Yes," he said. "Same move, different label." I asked, "Why St. Hill?" Peter looked toward the window, where the countryside sat in polite quiet. "Because St. Hill is where Hubbard turned religion into an operating system," he said. "Because this is where he refined the ladder. And because Britain—" He paused. "Britain gives legitimacy. Americans love British legitimacy. A manor, a hedge, a title. If you can anchor your myth here, you look older than you are." Safi asked. "Hubbard got pushed out," she said cautiously. "What happened?" Peter's mouth tightened. "The Home Office," he said. "Restrictions. He left. Later, he couldn't come back. People say booted out. It wasn't dramatic, it was bureaucratic, which is the British way of declaring someone undesirable. Kieran nodded once as if confirming his own memory. Peter continued. He moved operations offshore, he said. Sea Org, ships, new jurisdictions. Noah spoke for the first time. So the ladder survived, he said. Peter looked at him. Ladders always survive, he replied. They adapt. Safi asked, do you recognize the prompt language? She slid her notebook across the table and pointed at a sequence she'd copied. Peter read it quickly. His face changed. That's auditing cadence, he said. The thank you at the end, like closing a session. The insistence that resistance is noise. We used to say counterintention. Different word, same job, make doubt sound like illness. Jun's voice was small. No, why? She said. Peter looked at her. Exactly, he said softly. If you can't ask why, you can't leave. Leaving requires a question. Tess leaned forward. We have a finance trainee being used, she said. His calm score triggers trades. We need to know how this architecture moves into money. Peter's mouth moved. Scientology always liked money, he said. But it didn't understand finance like London does. If someone here is using the old method, they're smarter. They're using the ladder to produce proxies, obedient bodies, clean signatures. Kieran asked, do you know any people from St. Hill who went into tech? Peter nodded slowly. Plenty, he said. People leave and take the method with them. They call it coaching, performance, resilience. They scrape off the religion and keep the mechanics. Safi looked at him. Do you know a name? Gideon Rainsford, she asked. Peter's eyes narrowed. I've heard it, he said. Security side, discreet. A man who likes to believe he's ethical because he wears a suit. Tess muttered, that describes half the city. Peter looked at me. What's the group called? He asked. The Meridian Institute for Chronometric Health, I said. Peter's expression shifted, almost amused. Time, he said. Of course. Hubbard obsessed over time tracks. Past lives, engrams, the whole track. Time is a perfect hook. Everyone is already anxious about it. Lin Mei said quietly, their internal project name is palimpsest. Peter nodded. Rewrite, he said. Makes sense. I asked Peter a question I didn't enjoy asking because it reminded me of my own teacher's warning. Why are you helping us? I asked. Peter held my gaze. Because I know what it's like, he said. To live inside a system that tells you your doubt is evidence of your sickness. I know what it's like to pay for your own cage. He paused, then added, with the bluntness of someone who has stopped trying to be polite. And because if you don't stop a new ladder early, it becomes a cathedral. Outside, the countryside sat there, indifferent. Inside, we were looking at a lineage, from St. Hill's E-meter to Meridian's chronometer band, from Hubbard's levels to Meridian's degrees, from confession files to biometric credentials. Peter finished his tea and set the cup down. One more thing, he said. What? I asked. He looked at me carefully. They'll try to recruit you, he said. Not because you're special, because you're useful. A skeptic inside the system makes the system look honest. I didn't answer. He didn't need an answer. Kieran stood first. Thank you, he said. Peter nodded once, then walked out of the pub without looking back. We sat for a moment longer, absorbing the weight of what he'd confirmed. Outside, the manor sat behind its hedges like a memory people had turned into infrastructure. Tess broke the silence. Okay, she said. So we have lineage. Great. Now we need proof that Meridian used a kid's nervous system to run trades. Lin Mei's fingers were already moving on her laptop. I can trace the telemetry back to Canticle, she said. But I need access, not public access. Real. Kieran said, Canticle has a London office, he said. Near Holborn, Chancery Lane Energy. They love that. Safi looked up. And the prompts? She asked. We need to show their scripts, not health advice. Noah spoke softly. We also need to get Imran out, he said, because once the bank fires him, Meridian can absorb him completely. John whispered. They make him alone. Yes, Noah agreed. Isolation disguised as consequence. I looked out the pub window at the road, at the fields beyond, and thought about standards again, how a clock can navigate ships and also coordinate prisons. Let's go back, I said. We have work. 6. The chronometer band as a key. Back in Wapping, Lin Mei turned the office into a lab. She had the band connected to her interface, the laptop running logs, and a small antenna rigged to capture the low-energy beacon she'd discovered. The band pulsed silently, sending out a signal like a heartbeat translated into data. This band is not passive, Lin Mei said. It expects to be part of a system. Tess sat at the table with Imran's trade logs open, a second set of financial data pulled from the bank's monitoring vendor. She had also obtained, through Helena, the wellness program agreement Imran had signed. The agreement was written in language that pretended it was harmless. It described a stability portfolio designed to reinforce temporal literacy through low-volatility market exposure. And buried in the middle, 3 paragraphs that would ruin a life, was a clause authorizing a third-party resilience partner to place trades on Imran's behalf as part of his calibration program, with biometric confirmation acting as an engagement marker. Biometric confirmation, a nervous system as signature. Calm is consent, Tess muttered. Safi sat with headphones and listened to the band's guided prompts while reading the agreement. She looked like someone who had just watched a trick and recognized the hidden wire. This is the part people miss, she said quietly. The script isn't only in the audio. The script is in the contract. The band trains you to accept the contract as care. Noah stood near the kitchenette, watching all of us the way he watched cult rooms, seeing where our attention drifted, where our beliefs wanted to form. Jun sat on the love seat, notebook in her lap. She'd begun writing again, single words, short sentences, language returned like small birds. Kieran came in holding a paper bag with pastries. It looked like a gesture of normalcy. It was also strategy. Keep the team fed so fatigue doesn't become its own cult. He placed the bag down and said, Canticle Exchange hosts a quarterly wellness and compliance event at a private club in Holborn. Invitation only. I can get us a guest pass. Tess looked up. How? She asked. Kieran shrugged. People owe people, he said. Safi asked, Is it Meridian's event? She said. No, Kieran replied. That's the point. It's one layer removed, data people pretending they're not religion people. Lin Mei's screen pinged. She looked up. I found the handshake, she said. What handshake? Tess asked. Lin Mei pointed at the packets. The band broadcasts. It receives a token. When it receives the token, it pushes a prompt. The prompt instructs the wearer to do a short sequence. Breath, focus, return to the line. When the wearer's physiology stabilizes, the band sends a confirmation. That confirmation acts as a trigger. Trigger for what? Noah asked, though we all knew. Trades, Lin Mei said. And, she added, voice darker, for other actions. I see additional endpoints, not market endpoints, internal endpoints. She highlighted a destination string, Meridian-Ledger-SVC. Tess's face hardened. So the band doesn't just trade, she said. It reports. Lin Mei nodded. It reports your state, she said, and it reports your compliance. Calm isn't just consent. Calm is proof you can be used. Jun's voice was soft. They like proof, she said. Noah looked at me. This is degree 3, he said. Calibration. Bodies as credentials. I nodded. And the kid is collateral, I said. Safi removed her headphones and said something that made the room go still. One of the prompts includes a phrase I've only heard in one place, she said. Tess looked up. Where? She asked. Safi's gaze met mine. St. Hill recordings, she said. Hubbard's cadence, the start of session pattern. What phrase? I asked. Safi glanced at her notebook and read it aloud. Locate the earliest moment you decided time was against you. She looked up. That's not generic mindfulness, she said. That's time track language. Noah's jaw set. They're mining origin stories, he said. Exactly, Safi replied. They're not calming you. They're training you to narrate your anxiety in their frame. Once you narrate it in their frame, you become legible. Legibility is control. Tess leaned forward. Okay, she said. We need to show the bank that Imran's trades were triggered by the band, and we need to show the regulators that the vendor network is using biometric signals as authorization. That's not wellness. That's exploitation. Lin Mei nodded. I can produce a technical report, she said. Packet captures, timing, tokens. Kieran said, and I can get us into Canticle's club event, he said. We can see who's in the room. Noah looked at me. And I can go to intake, he said. Tess opened her mouth to argue. Noah held up a hand gently, not confrontational. We need a participant perspective, he said. We need to know what they promise at Degree 3. And we need to know how they talk about Degree 4. Jun looked at Noah. Bring back words, she said. Noah nodded. I will, he said. I looked at the band again. Its casing looked harmless. Its effect was not. All right, I said. We move in parallel. I laid out the plan in a way that felt more like a schedule than I liked, but sometimes you use time against itself. Lin Mei, I said, build the report and map the telemetry routes. If we can prove biometric authorization is being used for trades, the bank will have to back off. Lin Mei nodded, already working. Tess, I said, keep digging the charity shield. Find the donors. Find the routing. If the Longitude and Wellbeing Trust is laundering scholarships, there will be a pattern. Tess nodded. Already on it, she said. Safi, I said, document the scripts. We need to show this isn't generic wellness language. It's engineered to reduce dissent. Safi nodded. I'll build a lexical map, she said. What words vanish at each degree? Kieran, I said, get us into Canticle's event. We need names and faces. Kieran nodded once. Noah, I said, do intake, listening. If they offer you a band, take it, but don't give them anything true in ledger. Noah's gaze held mine. Understood, he said. And Jun, I said, turning to her. Jun looked up. I want you to listen, I said, not to them, to us. If our language starts changing, tell me. Jun's eyes softened. She nodded slowly. Okay, she said. When everyone moved into their tasks, I sat for a moment longer with the band in front of me and thought about St. Hill again, not as a place, but as a lesson. Hubbard's genius, if you can call it that, was in understanding that a person will pay for a story that makes their pain feel meaningful. He built a ladder of stories, each rung more secret, more expensive, more binding. Britain gave him a manner and, for a while, legitimacy. When the country decided it had had enough, it didn't ban him with drama. It simply used bureaucracy to make him leave and then not return. Now, decades later, a new ladder was running in London, not with science fiction cosmology, but with precision. The same appetite repackaged for people who thought they were too modern to be manipulated. The band pulsed silently, waiting for a token. London waited too. 7. Canticle Exchange. Kieran's guest pass got us into a private club near Holborn that smelled like furniture polish and money trying to seem tasteful. The event was labelled as a wellness compliance symposium, which sounded like satire until you realized the city is full of phrases like that. Two moralities stitched together as if they belong. Kieran wore his best suit, which was still understated enough to look accidental. Tess wore black and looked like she'd been born to ruin someone's day. Lin Mei stayed back at the office. She was more useful in code than in a room full of people who confuse conversation with virtue. Noah was at Meridian Intake. Jun stayed home with Lin Mei, both because she didn't need the sensory assault of the club and because someone should remain outside the ritual space. Safi came with us. In a room like this, language does half the work. The club had dim lighting and soft music designed to make you lower your voice instinctively. That alone is a form of control. Quiet makes people feel safe, and safety makes them talk. Canticle's representatives wore smiles that suggested they believed ethics was a brand. Their name tags had first names only. "Welcome," a man said to us. "Canticle is honored to host partners across the resilience ecosystem." Resilience ecosystem. The phrase made Tess's jaw shift. Kieran smiled politely. "Always good to see civic health taken seriously," he said. He was fluent in this dialect, mild praise that opens doors. We circulated. On one wall was a screen displaying a dashboard, not a stock dashboard, something else. Charts labeled coherence, alignment, variance. Safi stood in front of it, eyes narrowing. "This is Meridian's vocabulary," she murmured. Tess's gaze swept the room. "Look at who's here," she said quietly. "People from banks, people from consultancies, a few from the charity world, one or two with the posture of government, too careful to be purely private." And in the corner, talking to a small cluster of donors like a professor at a dinner party, stood Dr. Stellan Price. His presence at a data broker's private club event was confirmation, not surprise. Meridian wasn't hiding, it was integrating. Kieran leaned slightly toward me. "You want to talk to him?" he asked. "Not yet," I said. Price noticed us anyway. His eyes landed on my face with the calm recognition of someone who thinks he has time on his side. He excused himself from his cluster and walked over. "Mr. Rowan," he said as if greeting a colleague, "you look rested." "I'm functional," I replied. Price's smile remained mild. "You missed orientation," he said. "I did," I replied. "And yet here you are," he said, glancing around the club. "Listening." He said the word like an invitation. Safi stepped closer, eyes on Price, voice polite. "Dr. Price," she said. "Saffron Debele." Price's gaze flicked to her name tag. "Ah," he said. "Language." Safi smiled faintly. "Always," she said. Tess didn't bother with pleasantries. "Why is a health clinic doing business with a data broker?" she asked. Price looked at her as if she were charmingly blunt. "Health is data," he said. "Data is ethics. If we want to reduce harm, we must see the pattern." "You're selling biometric triggers to finance," Tess said flatly. Price's smile didn't change. "We don't sell people," he replied. "We offer systems that allow people to regulate themselves." Tess's eyes were bright with controlled anger. "I've heard that before," she said. Price's gaze moved to me again. "You're skeptical," he said. "Good. Skepticism is a kind of hygiene." Hygiene, a moral word used as a weapon, Safi asked softly. "Do you consider St. Hill part of your lineage?" she said. Price's smile paused, not vanished, simply paused. "A place," he said. "A history." "A man," Safi pressed. L. Ron Hubbard. A faint ripple went through the small group around us. Names like that carry charge. Price's eyes remained calm. "Hubbard was an engineer of belief," he said. "He understood that people need frameworks. He also understood the power of measurement." "You mean the E-meter?" Tess said. Price nodded once, as if acknowledging a technical predecessor. "A crude tool," he said, "but conceptually interesting. He tried to quantify the invisible." "And you're doing the same," I said. Price's gaze held mine. "We're refining," he said. "Refining into what?" I asked. Price glanced toward the dashboard wall. "Into governance," he said simply. The word landed like a truth told accidentally. Tess's voice sharpened. "Governance is not a clinic," she said. Price's smile returned. "Everything is governance," he replied. "The question is whether it is conscious." I watched him carefully. Price wasn't a zealot. He was worse. He was reasonable. Safi's voice stayed polite. "Hubbard was pushed out of Britain," she said. "You know that history." Price's eyes didn't flicker. Britain decided he was disruptive, he said. He refused regulation. He refused oversight. That is the difference between his era and ours. And you welcome oversight? Tess asked. Price smiled. We build it in, he said. Ethics boards, partnerships, consent. I thought of the candidate profile Meridian had created for me without consent. Consent, I said. Older than consent, isn't it? That's what your portal replied. Price's gaze sharpened slightly, the first sign he was not fully in control. Contracts precede feelings, he said. Time precedes romance. That's doctrine, I replied. Price's smile softened again. Call it what you like, he said. We call it alignment. A canticle representative approached Price and murmured something. Price nodded, then looked at us again. Mr. Rowan, he said, you will find that resistance can be educational, but it can also become a prison. He said it gently. It sounded like concern. It was a warning. Then he walked away, returning to his cluster of donors, as if our conversation had been a pleasant exercise. Tess watched him go and whispered, I want to throw him into the Thames. Kieran's voice was dry. That would be messy, he said, and he'd probably call it a rebirth ritual. Safi didn't smile. Her gaze stayed on the dashboard wall. Look, she said quietly. On the screen, under coherence metrics, there was a small list of pilot cohorts. The names were coded, but one stood out. Cohort, longitude scholars. Tess's jaw shifted. Imran, she said. And others, Safi added. Kieran leaned closer. This isn't one kid, he said. It's a program. Tess's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, face hardening. It's Helena, she said, and she answered. Yes, she said. A pause. No, he didn't. I know. Okay, I'll tell him. She ended the call and looked at me. The bank suspended Imran, she said. They're freezing his accounts. They're treating him as guilty until proven innocent. Noah's text arrived at the same moment on my phone. Intake done. They offered band. I took it. They keep saying, calm is consent. They referenced St. Hill as the first clockroom. Also, Layla Hart name came up. My stomach went still. Layla's name was now in two places, the band telemetry and the cult's mouth. I showed the message to Tess and Safi. Kieran read it over my shoulder. First clockroom, Safi murmured. That's myth-making. They're turning St. Hill into a sacred origin. Tess's voice went flat. They're braiding Scientology lineage into their ladder, she said. Kieran nodded. It's a European move, he said. Lineage equals legitimacy. I looked at Price across the room, laughing softly with someone in a tailored coat. He looked like a man hosting an ethical symposium. He did not look like someone using nervous systems as credentials. That's what made Meridian terrifying. It didn't need to look like a cult. It could look like a partnership. 8. Noah's listening. Noah returned late, quieter than usual. He stood in the doorway for a moment before coming in, as if he needed to confirm the room was still ours. He placed a second evidence bag on the table. His band. It's the same hardware, Lin Mei said immediately, eyes scanning. Noah nodded once. They called it a chronometer, he said. They smiled when they said it. Tess looked at him. How was intake? She asked. Noah sat in the chair farthest from the door, posture upright, hands on his knees. It felt, he searched for a word, hospitable. Tess made a sound of disgust. Of course it did, she said. They're not stupid. Noah nodded. They framed it as care, he said. No mysticism. They emphasize consent. They asked me to name my stress as temporal dysphoria. They offered me relief. Safi asked, language? She said. Noah's gaze moved to her. Controlled, he said. They avoid direct negation. They don't say don't. They say reduce. They don't say leave. They say realign. John whispered, no, why? Noah nodded almost respectfully. Yes, he said. They treat why as an early symptom of noise. Tess leaned forward. Did they mention Imran? She asked. Noah shook his head. Not by name, he said, but they mentioned longitude scholars. They framed it as a generosity program supporting high-stress professions. Finance, Tess said. Policy, Noah added. They mentioned a cabinet office cohort. I felt my hands go cold, not from fear, but from clarity, Layla. Noah continued. They also mentioned St. Hill, he said. Safi's pen stopped. How? She asked. Noah hesitated, then said it carefully. They told a story, he said, about the first clockroom, a manor in Sussex where an American taught people to measure their inner distress with a device. They didn't name Hubbard directly in the room, but they alluded. They framed him as the navigator who understood that time is the primary cage. Kieran nodded once. They're mythologizing Hubbard, he said. Stripping the controversy, keeping the method. Noah's gaze moved to me. They asked about you, he said. Tess's eyes narrowed. What did they ask? She demanded. They asked whether I knew you, Noah replied. They framed you as someone who resists in a principled way. They said resistance can become leadership. Safi's voice was quiet. They want Calder as their sanctioned skeptic, she said. Jun looked at me. Necessary, she whispered, the word tasting bitter. Noah added, they used one phrase repeatedly. I want you to hear it. He looked at Lin Mei. Do you have audio capture? He asked. Lin Mei nodded, already pulling up the recording from Noah's clean phone. A woman's voice filled the room, warm, precise, designed to feel like care. Calibration is the practice of becoming reliably yourself. When you become reliable, you become safe. When you become safe, you become eligible. Eligible, a word that belongs to institutions, not souls. Safi's eyes narrowed. Eligibility language, she said. That's not therapy, that's bureaucracy. Noah's voice was low. That's the ladder, he said. Tess's mouth tightened. They're turning people into eligibility profiles, she said, then spending the profiles. Lin Mei's screen chimed. She looked up, face pale. Imran's band just pinged, she said. Tess's eyes sharpened. He's wearing it again? She asked. Lin Mei shook her head. No, she said. He isn't. But the system is still using his profile. How? I asked. Lin Mei pointed at the log. The band is paired to his phone, she said. Even if he's not wearing it, the app can simulate calm readiness by using historical baselines. The band becomes optional. Safi's voice went quiet. Then the person becomes optional, she said. Jun whispered, null. The word didn't belong to this episode's vocabulary yet, but Jun had a way of hearing what was coming. Tess stood. We need to move, she said. Now. Where? Kieran asked. Tess looked at me. Imran, she said. Before Meridian does what it does, isolate, then absorb. Noah's gaze held mine. They'll offer him rescue, he said, and the rescue will be the next degree. I thought of Layla being moved from ledger to calibration without my 2 minutes being honored. I thought of Price's calm certainty at Canticle's event. I thought of Peter Mordaunt's warning, ladders become cathedrals. All right, I said, we go. 9. The extraction. London at night is a city of doors. Some doors have security guards, some have keypads, some have nothing but social permission. Cults love doors because doors allow you to control who belongs without ever admitting you're controlling anything. Imran's flat was in a new build near Stratford, a compromise between affordability and proximity to Canary Wharf. The hallway smelled faintly of carpet glue. It felt like a place designed to house lives temporarily. Helena met us downstairs. She looked less composed than she had in the bank conference room, which meant the situation was moving faster than law. He's inside, she said. He's refusing to answer calls. The bank froze his accounts. His phone is full of messages from Meridian. Messages? Tess asked. Helena nodded. They're offering to help. she said. They call it containment. Noah's jaw set. Containment, he murmured. We went up. Imran opened the door after Helena knocked and said his name. He looked pale, eyes slightly red, as if he'd been staring at a screen for too long. He saw me and froze. "They said you would come," he said. Tess's voice snapped. "Who did?" she asked. Imran's gaze flicked to her, then down. "Meridian," he said. Kieran stepped into the doorway, scanning the corridor. "Any visitors?" he asked Imran. Imran shook his head. "No," he said. "But they said people might try to contaminate me." "Contaminate," Safi repeated softly. "Infection metaphor." Imran looked at her, confused. Safi's tone stayed calm. "They frame outsiders as pathogens," she said. "It makes isolation feel like hygiene." Imran's face tightened. "They're trying to protect me," he said automatically. "They said the bank's panic is noise." Noah stepped forward slightly, voice quiet. "Imran," he said, "I'm not here to argue with your relief. I'm here to make sure your choices remain yours." Imran's eyes flicked to Noah. The sentence landed differently than accusation. Helena said, "Imran, you're being used." Voice sharper now, her legal patience fraying. "If you don't cooperate with us, they will take you." Imran's gaze dropped. His voice was quiet. "I don't know how to cooperate," he said. "They have my ledger." The word fell like a confession. I held his gaze. "What did you tell them?" I asked. Imran looked ashamed, then angry at himself for the shame. "Everything," he said. Tess's voice softened slightly. "That's what it's for," she said. "Not healing, leverage." Imran's hands shook faintly, then steadied as he pressed his palms to his thighs, training himself into calm. "They said calm is consent," he whispered. Safi looked at me. "That's the key," she said quietly. "They're teaching people to confuse regulation with agreement." Kieran's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then looked up. "They're coming," he said. "Who?" Tess asked. Kieran's eyes stayed on the corridor. "Not police," he said. "Private security. 2 men. Building entrance." Helena's face drained. "How do you know?" she asked. Kieran didn't answer. He didn't need to. He simply moved. "We leave," he said. Helena blinked. "We can't just—" she began. Tess interrupted. "We can," she said. "Watch us." Imran stared at them, stunned. "I can't leave," he said. "The bank, my visa, my—" Noah spoke softly. "You can leave your flat," he said. "You don't have to leave your life. Not tonight." Imran hesitated. His eyes flicked to his phone on the table. It buzzed. He flinched. June, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward slightly. Her voice was soft, but her words were clean. "You can ask why," she said to Imran. Imran stared at her. June continued slowly, choosing each word like it mattered. "If they hate why," she said, "then why is your door?" Imran's throat moved. He looked at his phone again, then away, as if it were radioactive. He nodded once. "Okay," he said, "okay." Kieran moved to the window and looked down. 2 men, he said. "Earpieces. Same type Tess saw at Greenwich." Tess's eyes sharpened. "Meridian Security," she said. "Or Canticles," Kieran replied. We moved quickly, but without panic. Panic is what systems expect. It makes you easy to direct. Kieran led us down a service stairwell, out a back door, and into a small courtyard that connected to another building's alley exit. London architecture is a maze of private routes if you know where to look. Kieran did. We put Imran in Tess's car. Helena followed, jaw set, suddenly less like a solicitor and more like a person. Safi sat beside Imran in the back, speaking quietly to him, not comforting but anchoring him in reality. Noah and I followed in Kieran's car. We drove without sirens, without drama, slipping through London's late-night arteries toward Wapping. Behind us, Meridian's men could have been in a lift, in a hallway, in the lobby. They could have been watching from a car. We didn't know, and not knowing was part of the point. Uncertainty creates obedience. If you believe you're always being watched, you start behaving like a member even outside the compound. We reached the office. Lin Mei opened the door before we knocked. Her eyes took in Imran and immediately shifted into problem-solving mode. "Inside," she said. Imran stepped into our space and looked around with the bewilderment of someone entering a room where no one is trying to recruit him. That alone can feel unfamiliar after a high-control system. Tess closed the door and leaned against it, listening. Kieran checked the stairwell camera feed he'd rigged earlier because he never trusted London to leave you alone. Safi sat Imran down and asked gently, "What did they send you?" Imran looked at her, then at his phone, then at me. He held out the phone as if it might burn him. "They sent a link," he said. "They said it's my stability assessment. They said if I watch it, I'll understand why the bank is wrong and Meridian is right." Tess scoffed. "They made you a narrative," she said. Lin Mei reached for the phone. "Don't click," she said, almost automatically. Imran stared. "I already did," he said. The room stilled. Lin Mei's face didn't change into anger. It changed into focus. "Okay," she said. "What happened?" Imran's voice went quiet. "It showed my calm score," he said. "And then it showed trades, like a timeline. Like they were teaching me that the trades were my alignment." He looked ashamed. "They made it feel like I did it," he said, "like my calm caused it." Safi's gaze hardened. "That's classic," she said. "Causality as guilt." Noah spoke softly. "They want you to accept responsibility for a system's action," he said. "So you'll submit to correction." Imran's eyes lifted to Noah. "They offered me degree 4, he whispered. "Night navigation." There it was, the ladder revealing itself. "They said if I do night navigation," Imran continued, "I can stop being tracked by money. I can exit narrative." He said the phrase like a prayer. John watched him with a kind of quiet compassion that didn't try to fix him. "That's not freedom," she said softly. "That's disappearing." Imran's eyes flicked to her. "They said disappearing is the highest self," he whispered. Safi's voice was quiet. "Null," she murmured, and John flinched as if hearing a familiar monster. Lin Mei turned the phone screen toward herself and began extracting the video metadata. Her fingers moved fast, controlled. "Tess," she said, "I need the trade IDs and timestamps again." Tess slid her laptop toward her without hesitation. Tess's anger becomes cooperation when there's something to dismantle. Lin Mei spoke while working. "If they produced a timeline video," she said, "they have access to the trade execution logs. That means Canticle is deeper than a vendor. They're integrated." Kieran's eyes stayed on the stairwell camera feed. "We have about 10 minutes, he said. "How do you know?" Helena asked, voice tense. Kieran didn't look away from the screen. "Because that's how long it takes for men like that to decide whether they're allowed to knock," he said. Helena looked at him, unsettled by his certainty. Noah looked at Imran. "Imran," he said, "I need you to tell me what the ledger asked." Imran flinched. Noah's voice stayed calm. "Not your answers," he added. "The questions." Imran hesitated, then nodded slowly. "They asked about my first memory of being late," he said. "They asked about my mother's voice when she said hurry. They asked about the first time I lied about time." Safi's pen moved, recording. "They asked about sex," Imran said, voice dropping. "About fantasies, about shame. They said shame is temporal residue." Tess made a sound of disgust. Imran continued, words spilling faster now. "They asked about religion," he said. "They asked if I believed in sin. They said sin is a calendar tool." He looked up at me, eyes bright with fear and a kind of awe. "They said all religions are timekeeping empires," he whispered. "They said St. Hill proved it, that Hubbard saw time as the primary chain." Safi's eyes narrowed. "They're quoting him," she said. Imran nodded. "They played recordings," he said. "Old tapes. An American voice talking about time track. He looked ashamed again. It sounded convincing, he said. Of course it did. A confident voice in a quiet room can sound like truth if you're tired enough. Lin Mei's laptop chimed. She looked up. I've got something, she said. She projected the metadata on the wall. The video Imran watched had been hosted on a server under Canticle Exchange, with a subdirectory labeled palimpsest. The video contained embedded timestamps that matched Imran's trade logs. It also contained a small hidden tag. Cohort Longitude Scholars. A UTH:CALM-SIG validated. CalmSig validated. Calm signature. A nervous system turned into a cryptographic key. Tess stared at the wall. They used him as a human authentication token, she said. Lin Mei nodded. Yes, she said. And because his physiology was the key, they can plausibly claim he authorized it. Helena's face drained. That's monstrous, she whispered, professionalism cracking. Noah's voice was quiet. That's scalable, he said. Safi looked at me. This is the new E-meter, she said. Not measuring the soul, measuring the signature. Jun whispered, they make you proof. Imran stared at the wall. So I'm ruined, he said. No, Tess said sharply. Your evidence. Imran blinked, startled. Tess softened her voice slightly, the closest she gets to comfort. We can show you didn't place those trades intentionally, she said. We can show you were manipulated. Imran shook his head. But I signed, he whispered. I consented. Safi's gaze met his. Consent without understanding is not consent, she said. Imran looked unconvinced. That's the damage. People internalize guilt because it gives them the illusion of control. If it's your fault, you can fix it. If it's a system, you're small. Kieran spoke from the door. We have visitors, he said. Tess's body moved instantly, posture shifting into readiness. She didn't reach for a weapon. She reached for her phone. Evidence, leverage, the only violence she trusts. On Kieran's screen, 2 men stood in the stairwell, waiting. Not banging, not threatening. Waiting like they belonged. They wore dark coats, no logos, the uniform of private care. Helena looked at them and whispered, Police? Kieran shook his head. No, he said. This is softer. Safi's voice was low. They'll frame it as concern, she said. Noah looked at me. They're here for Imran, he said, or for the band. Tess's eyes flashed. They're not getting either, she said. Lin Mei spoke quickly. I can dump the evidence to Helena's secure channel, she said. Right now. Do it, Helena said, voice sharp. Lin Mei sent the packet captures, metadata, and proof of calm signature validation. Tess grabbed the evidence bag with the band and shoved it into a Faraday pouch Lin Mei had prepared. Kieran looked at me. What do you want to do? He asked. The question was practical, not philosophical. In a high-control system, your response becomes part of their model. If we hid, they'd mythologize it. If we confronted, they'd script it. If we called police, we'd invite institutional friction that Meridian could exploit. I thought of Price at Canticle, smiling while saying governance. I thought of Hubbard at St. Hill, turning confession into currency. I thought of my teacher in Japan warning me about becoming a fox in pursuit of foxes. And I thought of the simplest truth. Imran was a person, not a credential, not a cohort. We don't run, I said. Tess stared at me. Calder, she began. We don't run, I repeated. We make them speak. Safi nodded slowly. Language is their weapon, she said. Make them use it. Kieran moved to the door, careful. Noah looked at Imran. Stay here, he said, behind me. Don't say anything unless asked directly. Imran nodded, trembling slightly, then pressed his palms to his thighs again, trying to manufacture calm as if calm could save him. Jun watched him and said softly, You don't owe them calm. Imran looked at her, confused, then something in his face eased, just a fraction. Kieran opened the door. The two men stood in the hallway with polite expressions. One held a slim folder. "Good evening," the taller one said. His accent was neutral, trained. "We're here from Meridian Clinical Support. We understand Mr. Cavich may be in distress." Helena stepped forward. "Who authorized you to enter this building?" she asked sharply. The man smiled politely. "We're not entering," he said. "We're offering support." Support. Always support. I stepped into view. The man's eyes flicked to me and paused. Recognition. "Mr. Rowan," he said. "We've been expecting you." "Expecting is not consent," I said. The man's smile didn't change. "Of course," he said. "We're simply here because we care about misalignment." Tess made a sound behind me that might have been laughter if it didn't contain so much disgust. Helena held up her phone. "You're being recorded," she said. The man nodded. "Transparency," he said. "We welcome it." I watched him carefully. His calm wasn't serenity. It was training. "Why are you here?" I asked. The man held up the folder. "We have documentation," he said. "Mr. Cavich has consented to Meridian's containment protocol in circumstances of external stress." "Consent," Tess said, stepping beside me. "Show me the clause." The man offered the folder. Tess didn't take it. She didn't want to touch anything that might be used as ritual. The man opened it himself and held it up. It was a printed document with Imran's name, the Meridian logo, and a signature that looked like Imran's but slightly wrong. Too smooth, too consistent. Lin Mei had warned us about models. Helena's eyes narrowed. "That signature is not verified," she said coldly. The man smiled. "Verification occurs at Ledger," he said. Safi, standing behind Tess, spoke quietly. "That's the line you all use," she said. "It's scripted." The man's eyes flicked to Safi. His smile remained. "Language is care," he said. Safi nodded slowly. "Language is control," she replied. The shorter man stepped forward slightly, still polite. "Mr. Cavich will be safer in Meridian custody," he said. "His nervous system is at risk." At risk. Pathologize the human, then offer containment as mercy. I looked at them both. "You're here because the bank froze him," I said. "And now you want to absorb him before anyone can ask questions." The taller man's smile softened into something almost sympathetic. "Questions can be destabilizing," he said. "We reduce harm." Tess's voice was sharp. "You used his calm score to trigger trades," she said. "You can stop pretending you're a clinic." The taller man's smile paused for half a second. Then he said gently, "Calm is consent." He delivered the phrase like scripture. Helena stepped forward, voice lethal in its restraint. "You are not taking my client," she said. The taller man looked at her with mild sadness. "You're a lawyer," he said. "You understand contracts." Helena's eyes held his. "I understand coercion dressed as contract," she said. The man sighed lightly, as if burdened by her misunderstanding. "Mr. Rowan," he said, turning back to me, "you have been identified as a candidate. You're resisting the calendar. That's educational, but you'll find resistance becomes exhausting." He said it like advice. Then he added almost casually, "And Layla Hart is progressing well." The name hit the hallway like a blade. Behind me, Imran made a small sound. Jun's posture changed on the love seat. Noah's face went still. Tess's voice turned quiet, dangerous. "Don't say her name like you own it," she said. The man's smile returned. "Ownership is an outdated concept," he said. "We prefer alignment." I kept my voice even. "Where is she?" I asked. The man tilted his head slightly. "That question is premature," he said. "You'll understand at Ledger." He glanced past me into the office. "We'll return," he said. "Imran Cavich has a protocol appointment, and you, Mr. Rowan, have delayed your orientation." He tapped the folder lightly. "Time is an old contract," he said. "Contracts are enforced." Then he stepped back, still polite, and walked away down the hallway with his partner, leaving no threat that could be prosecuted and no comfort that could be trusted. Kieran closed the door quietly. For a moment, no one spoke. The room felt charged, not with fear, but with the knowledge that Meridian had moved from abstract architecture to direct presence. Tess broke the silence first. They just used Layla's name as leverage, she said. Noah nodded, voice low. They're telling you the price of resistance, he said. Safi looked at me. They're also testing you, she said. Will you chase Layla into their calendar? June whispered. They want you to hurry. Imran sat on the chair, hands trembling now that calm had failed him. They're going to take me, he said. Helena looked at him, then at us. Not tonight, she said. Lin Mei's voice was controlled. I have enough evidence to pressure the bank to pause, she said. If they ignore it, we escalate publicly through legal channels. Tess's jaw shifted. And Meridian will say misinformation, she said. Kieran looked at the door. We need another location, he said. This office is compromised. I looked around the room. It was ours, but it was no longer private. I thought of Greenwich again, tourists straddling a line for photos, not knowing how easily lines become cages. I thought of St. Hill, a manor turned into an origin myth, a place where a ladder was built and then exported. And I thought of Price at Canticle. Governance spoken softly, like mercy. We move, I said. Tess's eyes sharpened. Where? She asked. I looked at the band on the table, the evidence bag with Meridian's symbol shining faintly under fluorescent light. We follow palimpsest, I said. Lin Mei's gaze lifted. To Canticle, she asked. No, I replied. Past Canticle, to the archive. Safi's eyes narrowed. The tapes, she said. Kieran nodded once. St. Hill, he said. And Greenwich, Noah added quietly. Because they always return to the line. Jun whispered almost to herself. Old story under new ink. A palimpsest. I looked at my phone. A new Meridian notification had arrived while we were in the hallway. Misalignment escalation. Candidate review scheduled. Ledger excerpt available. I stared at the screen. They wanted me to click. They wanted me to participate. I turned the phone face down again and looked at my team. At Tess's anger made useful, at Lin Mei's precision, at Safi's ability to hear the script inside the sentence, at Noah's quiet refusal to become an icon, at Kieran's map mind, at June's fragile, fierce insistence on why, at Helena's legal steel, at Imran's shaken humanity. This was no longer only about a finance trainee. Meridian had turned calm into a credential, and then used that credential to move money. It had turned St. Hill into an origin myth, and then used that myth to make itself feel inevitable. And it had used Layla Hart's name as a lever in my direction. The ladder was building itself rung by rung, and degree 3 was only the first moment the machinery became visible. I didn't know where Layla was. I didn't know what her ledger contained. I didn't know what Meridian had written about me, but I knew something else, with sudden certainty. If a system can use your body as a signature, it can sign for you. And that means the next level isn't a secret doctrine, it's a forged life.
Trench coat collar up to my eyes, neon on water, crooked and white. You said me sooner, you never said where. Taxi doors coughing into the damper. Fog over electric London swallows your name from my tongue. I follow your ghost through the crosswalk. Every red light comes out wrong. Fog over Fog over electric London swallows your name from my tongue. I follow your ghost through the crosswalk. Every red light comes out wrong. Fog over electric London, street signs that drip and run. If I make it out by the morning, tell the moon the case is not done.